Okay, perfect. Had some technical difficulties, but we are here. Good afternoon, everyone. I see a few more people are coming in. We'll let them get in. My name is Lisa Collum. I am the owner and the author of Top Score Writing. This is our September monthly meeting. So a few years ago, we started these monthly meetings as just a quick way to come together once a month. I go over a few things for about 5 minutes, and then I open up for Q&A. We do these each month. They're completely free. They are your chance to, kind of see in real time where things should be as far as curriculum, but also share with each other and or ask any questions to me. So let's go ahead and get started. So the agenda for today, I'm forced to talk about pacing. I know it feels like we have been in the school year for a while, but it's only September. And I like to stay on top of pacing. I actually, in every one of my monthly meetings, will touch on pacing, even if it's just for a few seconds, just to make sure we're keeping up with things, because the school year, before you know it, will be half over. And then we don't want to be playing catch up after winter break. I also want to talk about how to optimize the digital curriculum resources, because I know there's a lot on the platform. I want to make sure you know how to access it and you know what's there and available to you. And then training to maximize the program effectiveness. That's with our on demand. So let's go ahead and dive into this. So if you are let me even back up a second to a first grade teacher, okay? If you're a first grade teacher on here, let me tell you, there is no pacing. I do not agree with pacing for first grade. I think that it depends on your class. And I think there's such a wide variance of where students can be. I mean, you can get kids that can't even write letters, or you get kids that can write little sentences. And so I don't want to make you have to follow something at all. So first grade, if you have our curriculum, is not divided up by lessons, it's divided up into phases. So the idea with the phases is instead of having to do certain lessons each week, you are just in a phase for however long you need to be. Okay, so that's first grade. For second and third grade, okay, we do have pacing guides. However, if I have not been in front of you and trained you before, this is what I always tell teachers. Second and third grade for most states is not a tested grade level. Okay. I know some of you, I think in Arizona, third grade is, but for the most part, second and third grade are not tested. So if you are one of those tested, this doesn't apply to you, but for everyone else, that section 1 non-text-based expository is crucial to students being successful, not only this year, but for the rest of the years to follow. So I'd rather you spend as much time as you need in section 1 to make sure the students are mastering the skills. Okay, I'd rather you do that than go through section 1, 2, and 3 and do what I call sprinkling, where they're never really mastering the skills. You're just kind of mentioning and sprinkling, and they're kind of moving through it, but we're never making sure they're mastering. So if you are in a non-tested grade level, okay, a non-tested, which for most of you is second and third, I want you to really take your time in section 1. And I even put on here, it could take 10 to 11 weeks. I just want you to remember that this is foundational skills, basic structure, and it's going to apply for all their future writing. So that's why it's so crucial for them to learn section 1. Now, if you're in fourth grade and up, you know we have section 1 in there as well. We just don't have the time to be able to spend 10 to 11 weeks in there. But for my non-tested grade levels, please take your time through section 1, which is non-text-based expository. And remember, the reason why you're spending that time in there is to master those foundational and basic skills. All right. For my tested grades, okay, which is usually fourth grade and up. I do know some of you in third grade test, but for the most part, fourth grade and up. Remember that the end goal is to be done teaching all your core lessons, which are sections 1, 2, and 3 by the end of February. The reason is most state tests are in April. And I don't want you still up at the front teaching those core lessons in March. I like to leave March open, wide open. Number 1, there's always spring break, but number 2, that's your time to zone in on every kid and do lots of small group, lots of one-on-one, lots of conferencing, and lots of reteaching. If you're still up at the front teaching core skills, you're not going to have that time to really meet the needs of every student. So think of, if you're a tested grade, Think of this year as I've got to get sections 1, 2, and 3 done by the end of February. Okay, that leaves October, November, December, January, February. Okay, it's not that long. When you map out the days, it's even shorter. So don't do that. I've already done that. But my point is that you want to make sure that you are pacing it not only to be ready for the test, but to leave March open. I promise you that having that 3 to 4 weeks of being able to really zone in on those kids makes all the difference in the world. Okay. So kind of think of that now. Going back to pacing real quick for these tested grades. Remember, if you have our pacing guide, which if you don't, we have them online. Okay, but if you have our pacing guide, you know that we always say start with section 1 if your students don't have those basic foundational skills. Some of you have been using my program for 5 years and you're like, oh, our kids have had these foundational skills since 2nd grade. They're now in 5th grade. We don't have to do section 1. That's fine. But for the most part, most of you will be starting in section 1. The goal was to be done by the end of September. I've already gotten a few emails from you guys saying, you know, we're a little bit behind. It's okay if you need to go a week or so into October, but that's it. This is for my tested grades, okay? And even if they haven't mastered the skills, although it pains me to say this, we still have to move on to section 2, just because I've got to get those skills in front of those babies before they take that test. Okay, I'm not going to send any kid in there without having those skills mastered in section 2 and 3. So pacing as a whole, you should be wrapping up section 1 by the end of September. You should be working on section 2, okay, which is text-based expository or informative from October to December, and then section 3, which is text-based argumentative from January to February. Now, some of you flip-flop 3 and 2, or 2 and 3, vice versa, whatever. That's fine. 2 and 3 can be flip-flopped, okay? If some of you have to start with argumentative, that's fine. But just know, and then March is testing, test prep and testing. And then April is usually when the test is, April, May. And then we do narrative. Now, some of you are like, but wait a minute, our state test narrative. Well, if your state test narrative, you're going to want to do section 4 before. And we can help with that pacing as well. But this is the overall general pacing guide. Okay, so finish up section 1, start section 2, and then we'll touch base in the next meeting. Okay, pacing guides, again, we have these available. Okay, this is a general pacing guide. You can see we've laid it out with how many weeks are in the year. There's usually about 40 weeks. And you can see here what lessons to do each week. We've intentionally mapped it out with the number of lessons that make sense for that week. Meaning, if we've only given you 4 lessons for the week, you're still going to teach writing 5 days a week. It's just we know one of those lessons is going to take an extra day because some lessons are going to take 2 days to teach. If we've only given you 3 lessons for the week, that's because a couple of those lessons are going to take longer. So we still want you teaching writing 5 days a week. We only mapped out 3. Okay, these are available for 2nd through 8th grade. If you are in Florida, we have a Florida pacing guide. If you are in any other state, we have our nationwide pacing guides. Okay, so there are student assessments at the beginning of every genre. Okay, there's a pre-test. This is really important to have a pre-test and then the post-test. Now, you're going to assess the students at the beginning of each genre. And at the end, you're going to give a post-test. And then we always gave time after that end post-test, 1 to 2 weeks where you can individualize instruction. So just so you know, you're going to see on the pacing guide, you give a pre-test, you're going to teach all the lessons, give a post-test, and then there's going to be a couple weeks open. Those weeks are going to be for you to conference, pull small groups, have students self-assess, revisions, peer editing, checklists. Okay, there's a lot of things that you want to do, but make sure you're filling in between each genre with a couple weeks open before you move to the next one. So as an example, when you are done with text-based expository, okay, if you remember from the pacing guide, text-based expository is section 2, which is October to December. Okay, let's say you get done with that. Don't immediately jump into text-based argumentative. Take a week or 2 to look back on that text-based expository, pull small groups in with those skills that are needed, conference with those students and have that discussion, reteach anything they were struggling with, Teach them checklists and editing. These are all things you can do in between before moving on to the next genre. Okay, most of you have our digital license, okay? Just so you know, our digital license includes a PowerPoint for every single lesson, okay? So there's a PowerPoint for every single lesson. There's also a teacher-led video for our core lessons. What that means is there's going to be a lesson, the first lesson on introduction is the core lesson where I introduce how to write the introduction paragraph. The next lesson on introduction is just a practice writing that introduction paragraph. Okay, so you're gonna see a video for that first lesson that introduces the skill. There's not gonna be a video from where we're practicing the skill. Anytime I'm introducing a skill, it's a core lesson, there's a teacher-led video. You can see down here in the picture, this is our teacher-led videos. It just has me or someone from my team in the small circle. And then we are modeling just like we would in front of the classroom, meaning we're using the document camera, we're thinking aloud, we're going through it all with them, okay? So every lesson has a PowerPoint and our core lessons have teacher-led videos. Now, when you're doing teacher-led videos, it's not just push play and, kick back your feet, which I know none of you would do. It's push play, and now you get to help the students in real time. You get to be out there in the classroom at the desk while they're writing, while they're watching the lesson, and helping them, guiding them, answering questions in real time. We usually don't get to do that up in the front while we're teaching. So with these teacher-led lessons, you can now let myself or someone from my team teach the lesson, just push play, let it run, and now you can be out helping the students. I'm real big into differentiation as far as the delivery of the lessons. I like to deliver lessons differently because I think if we're always at the front lecturing, students are going to get bored, especially when it comes to writing. So sometimes you may want to deliver the lesson using a PowerPoint. Sometimes you might want to deliver the lesson just by reading the books. Sometimes you might want to deliver the lesson using the video. So there's lots of different ways to deliver the lessons, okay? Okay, I'm sorry, I'm just reading a quick question. Download the videos. Okay, I don't believe so, but that's a good question for my tech team. So I'm gonna put my email in at the end and you can send me an email and I'll help you with that. Okay. You guys also, if you are in 2nd through 5th grade and have our digital, we have daily grammar, okay? Make sure you're not missing that. If you do have the digital, 2nd through 5th has daily grammar. We took all the standards, made daily grammar. Although we call it daily grammar, it's really meant for like twice a week. So think of it this way, there's 180 days in the school year and there's about 80 grammar tasks. So if you did it, Tuesdays and Thursdays, they're meant to be like a 5-minute bell ringer. Again, it introduces the skill, teaches the skill, and then practices the skill. So you can make sure you're hitting all of those grammar and convention standards. So the daily grammar cards or daily grammar tasks are part of your digital license. So again, your digital license is not only giving you all the lessons, activities, the tests, the homework, it's giving you the PowerPoints, it's giving you the teacher-led videos, and it's giving you the grammar, okay? It's also giving you our on-demand PD, okay? That is the curriculum training that I do in the beginning of the year at hundreds of schools. It's my 3.5-hour training. I just pre-recorded it and put it online. And I broke it up into sessions. So you can see on the left-hand side, there's session 0 through session 7. So the great thing about the on-demand PD is if you haven't had me come out and train, you can get the training on your own time throughout the entire year. And instead of sitting and watching the whole 3.5 hour at one time, you might just want to say, you know what, we're getting ready to start text-based expository next week. I'm going to go watch her session 3 on text-based expository. And then maybe in December, when you're getting ready to start text-based argumentative, you can say, I'm going to go watch session 4 on text-based argumentative. Or if you're brand new and know nothing about the curriculum, you may say, you know what, I'm going to go watch session 0 and session 1 to get an overview. So this is available all year long as a part of your digital license. Okay, if you don't have a digital license, none of this applies. But those who have a digital license, your on-demand is there. Okay. Okay, somebody's asking about teaching personal anecdotes. So there are, I think there's a couple, 2 to 3 lessons in fourth and fifth grade on personal anecdote. A lot of people have a lot of questions about like the scoring from last year when scores were released. I'm going to be completely honest with you. The state has been very quiet and has said nothing. And if you do not know this, AI scored the papers last year. So I think that we're going to see a lot of uh, things come out of it because the scoring was a little off from what everyone has been talking about. But should our personal anecdotes necessarily the thing to concentrate on? If your kids have all the other pieces and have the structure, then I would work on that because that's like next level, right? So if your kids are at a 9, yes, that would help bump them up. But when you look at the sample papers, there are some 12 out of 12 that have no personal anecdotes. So it's kind of that hit or miss thing where I don't know if I'd put lots of effort into it. It probably is something that if most of my kids are sitting at a 9 come January, February, I would then add some more lessons on that personal anecdote. And as far as administration, so the licenses are per teacher. So they're not like most, unless you purchase an administration license, there's not an administration login, it's just the teacher logins. And there's nothing housed there as far as like, there's no reports, there's no data, there's nothing. It's just the platform that they access all these different resources. Okay, what I'm going to do now, since we are in like webinar style, it doesn't allow anyone to actual like talk on the microphone, but it does allow you to put in the Q&A. I want to leave you with my email. Again, I'm the author and owner. It's lisa@topsquirting.com. Many of you have probably met Jen and Katie along the way. They are my CAO and my director of curriculum. You can also take their emails. Just remember that I always say this, we are here to support you throughout the entire school year. And I know our next monthly meeting is going to be mid-October, but in a week or two, if you're sitting in a grade level meeting or a PLC meeting or an admin meeting, and you have a question about the curriculum or something's not working right, or your kids aren't picking up something, or you're behind on pacing, or you're confused about something, shoot me an email. I'd rather answer you an email or jump on a phone call real quick now or in a week than have to wait until our next meeting. So just know everyone on my team has been a classroom teacher for 10 plus years and has used my program. So that we all know it. We all have been there or are still there. And so we are here to support you throughout the entire school year. Okay. So I'm going to stay on and answer any other questions that you guys have. For the person that emailed me or messaged about the core lessons and being downloaded, please shoot me an email because I do want to send that to my tech team in case they have something that they can advise you to do or a suggestion. All right, everyone, thank you so much for coming. I told you I keep these short and sweet. These are your time just to get some quick info and ask any questions. So I'll go ahead and stay on. If you don't have any questions, you are free to go. Have a wonderful day, and please reach out if you need anything. Bye, everyone.